Well, hello there, my friend. It's me, Stu, here for you. And oh my goodness, today we are going to talk about, can a smaller audience actually be an advantage when launching a membership site? And this comes from a question that I get a lot, which is like, well, wait, Stu, you know, how big does my audience really need to be? Like, I don't have an audience of tens of thousands or thousands of people. Like, am I ready to launch a membership? And my answer to them and to you is always the same. And that is that actually a smaller audience can be a unique advantage in the beginning if you understand and really comprehend where that advantage comes from. That's what we're going to talk about here today, is how to use a smaller audience to your advantage to be able to create the momentum to then be able to certainly grow your audience, but certainly grow momentum with your membership. Now, I'm coming to you from a slightly different setup here today because my wife is in the other room doing her own live broadcast. This is kind of what happens when you got two of us in the same home, working from home, doing broadcasts. So, welcome to where we are right now. All right, so let's talk about this. Can a smaller audience be an advantage? And the answer to that is yes. First off, I want to kind of dispel the myth, though, that you need a huge audience of tens of thousands or thousands of people in order to launch a membership. That's just not true. And as we walk through today, I'm going to give you a bunch of different examples, but right off the bat, a great example of somebody who launched with a teeny tiny audience would be somebody like Wendy Batten. We did a story of Wendy because her story is so incredible in terms of the essence of what we're talking about here. She didn't have a huge audience, didn't have tens of thousands, didn't have thousands. In fact, she just had a few hundred people, 343 people. And her market is a lot different. It's not like a mainstream market. She helps paint store retailers. Like, think about that for a second. Like, not like, entrepreneurs with physical stores, not like, all these different types of retailers, but specifically like paint store retailers, like super tight niche. And hello to everybody who's joining. Thank you very much. So super tight niche, didn't have a big audience, 354 people. But when she did her founding member launch, she ended up welcoming 52 members, right? Like, incredible conversions. And I share this because what's going to happen is that when you have a smaller audience, and we'll talk about some of the advantages, you're going to see a much different response than if you would by having a bigger audience. And there are all kinds of things that contribute to that. And that's what we're going to kind of unpack here. But Wendy Batten's a great example. Now, she used that momentum of those 52 founding members, and she's continued to grow her membership year over year over year. And that's my point, is that it gave her a running start as she began to grow her membership. Another person who has done this in the last year, which is an amazing story, is Courtney Lynn. Now, Courtney, she's in another super unique market. I had never heard of this market before, but Courtney not only raised my awareness to it, but now, actually, just a fun story. Well, let me tell you the market. So she helps pet influencers. Pet influencers. I was like, what the heck is a pet influencer? But Courtney opened my eyes and raised my awareness to it. But it's somebody who's created like a social media account, like an Instagram account example, for their pet. And I didn't even realize this was a thing, but Courtney opened my eyes to it. And then literally, this is why I'm smiling, like 2 weeks ago, I was driving with our family in Vancouver. We're driving downtown Vancouver, and I see this guy on a motorbike, and he has a sidecar. And in the sidecar is his dog. And we pulled up to the lights, and my kids are just like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And the dog's got like goggles on, and he's got like headphones on. And I was like, this is amazing. So I took a picture, right? And on the sidecar was the gentleman or the dog's Instagram handle. It was Bentley. That's right. That's right, Frida. It was Bentley. And I couldn't believe it. So like, I looked up him on Instagram afterwards, and the dog has over 400,000 followers. Crazy, right? Well, this is the market that Courtney serves. And she became a pet influencer herself. And then lots of people started asking her about it. So she started to share. Now, the interesting thing was when Courtney launched her membership, she didn't have a big audience. She didn't have like, tens of thousands on her email list. She didn't even have thousands. She didn't have a single person on her email list. She had about 900 people who were following her. And so she did her founding member launch to those 900 people. And she ended up welcoming just over 50 plus members to her membership. And again, that got the ball rolling. That was $1,800 right up front, plus $700 a month in recurring revenue. Now, she's since grown that to hundreds of members during this past year. And one of the most amazing things about Courtney's story was that she shared with me that she has gone full-time, meaning this was a part-time gig, and now she's left her full-time job to pursue this business full-time. It was amazing, right? But again, she didn't start with a massive audience. Started with a teeny tiny audience. So let's talk about like some of the advantages that you have with a smaller audience that somebody with a bigger audience, they don't have these advantages. Number one, the smaller the audience, the more intimate the experience. Let me say that again. The smaller the audience, the more intimate the experience. So what does that mean for you or I? Well, when it comes to crafting a membership experience or even marketing a membership experience, it allows us to really get to know who it is that we are serving. So one of the things that I want you to think about is that like in the early days, especially with a smaller audience, it's the time to roll up your sleeves. It's the time to really get to know your audience. It's the time to really identify like what are they challenged with? What problems are they experiencing? What are the beliefs that they, are hitting or are preventing them from making forward progress? Like you have an opportunity to get to know them on a more intimate level than you ever would if you had a massive audience. And so I want to encourage you to use that as an advantage. And I want to encourage you to co-create that experience with your early founding members. I want to encourage you to deepen those relationships with those founding members. I think of Tasha Cochran, and Tasha, she has a big audience, right? But she specifically chose to start with a small founding member group just so that she could have this more intimate experience. And the result of that meant that when she initially formed the idea for her membership, she began with that, but through working with her founding members, she discovered that they actually needed something slightly different. And so she ended up modifying the membership based on that feedback and that co-creation component of it, so that when she did eventually launch to the rest of her audience, the membership was really dialed in. And I share this because, again, you can only have that sort of intimacy with a smaller audience. It's very difficult to maintain that high level of intimacy and with a much bigger audience. So use it to your advantage. If you're in the early stages and your audience is much smaller, use that to your advantage. Get to know the people who join your membership in those early days. Really get to understand, like, where are they on their journey and what's preventing them from making progress? Where are they getting stuck? Like, get to know them, because the insights you will gain from working closely with those members will serve you tremendously well down the road with your membership as it begins to grow. So the first big advantage is the smaller the membership, the more intimate the experience. Second big advantage, with a smaller membership, or a smaller audience, you're able to craft more of a personalized experience. So what do I mean by that? Well, unlike having a big audience, with a smaller audience, you can have more one-on-one interactions. This is true both during the marketing and the selling of your membership as you're welcoming more people in. But it's also true in the way in which you provide that membership experience. So just like what we were talking about with the intimacy being an advantage, so does the personalization. So what do I mean by that? Well, this can mean having conversations before somebody joins the membership, which is very difficult to do at scale, right? Like, it's very difficult to have one-on-one conversations when you have an audience of thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. You just can't speak to everybody on a one-on-one basis. But when you have a smaller audience, you 100% can. So one of the things that I always encourage people, if you are launching with a smaller audience, is to invite those one-on-one conversations. Like, encourage people to send you a direct message, encourage people to reach out and engage with you so that you can have those conversations. As an example, like in the early days, when I began our business here, that we've been running now for 5 years, where we provide training on, helping entrepreneurs grow their business with memberships. When I began this side of the business, I was starting from scratch. I didn't have a big following, didn't have an audience. I was starting from scratch. I had just sold my previous software company, right? And so I had experience, years and years of experience in serving people who were growing their memberships, but I had not been creating a following. I had not been teaching the material. But when we began, one of the things that I did was I started by hosting small, intimate workshops. So again, not thousands or even hundreds. Like, we're talking, my first workshop was 12 people, 12, right? 10 and 2, 12 people. And I held that workshop. But one of the things that was really important to me was to really pay attention to what were the questions that people were asking. And again, the curriculum that I set up for that workshop, it changed in the midst of that workshop. And it helped inform what ultimately became what is now known as Tribe, which is our signature program where we teach this material. But it began in workshops. And that first workshop was with 12 people. The second one was with 11 people. The third one was with 15 people. That was one in Hawaii. And then the next one was slightly bigger. That one had roughly 40 people. That was in Brazil. But each time along the way, you can see this is not like huge numbers. We're talking small, intimate groups. But what happened was, in the selling of those and also in the interaction during the fulfillment of those, I was personalizing the experience. I was interacting with each person one-on-one. I was listening to them during the actual, delivery of that workshop. And I was paying attention to what questions were they asking? What resources could I share with them? And I was making notes of these things, which helped inform what ultimately became the curriculum for the Tribe experience. And so I'm sharing this with you because I think that there's a huge opportunity from a personalization standpoint, both in the way that you welcome people, when you're opening cart for your membership, inviting people to send you direct messages if they've got questions, concerns, etc. But also in the way in which you provide that experience, being intentional about reaching out to people, being intentional about celebrating people, being intentional about, personalizing that experience for them. You can do that when you have a smaller audience. It's very difficult to do that at scale as your audience grows. So there are advantages and disadvantages to having both a big audience and a small audience. But this is what I'm sharing with you. Like, with a smaller audience, use the advantage that you've got to be able to create an experience for your early members that creates results for them, creates incredible stories that you can share that become your best marketing asset to be able to grow the membership from that point forward. Third and final advantage that I will share with you. Number one is the smaller the audience, the more intimate the experience. Number two, the fact that you can create more of a personalized experience with a smaller audience. And number three, you can follow up and gather feedback. So just like I talked about with the workshop, one of the greatest things that I got from that experience of working with a smaller audience was that hands-on feedback. It allowed me to really gauge the pulse of the group. Like, what was I teaching that was landing? What was I teaching that wasn't landing? What was I providing that was helpful? What was I providing that wasn't helpful? Where were people getting stuck? And where did I need to spend more time and go deeper? All of this intel was gathered by working with a small group first. Just like what we talked about with Tasha Cochran. Like one of the advantages and reasons why she started with a smaller group first was to be able to have that feedback and that back and forth, because that informed ultimately the direction she went with her membership, which was a lot different than her original intention. Now, is it to say that she wouldn't have had success with her original intention? No, it's not to say that. But what it is saying is that she was able to create an experience that was much more tailored, so to speak, for her audience, therefore helping her experience much higher conversions when she did open it up to her bigger audience. And the reason I share that is because many times people think that in the beginning, it's not worth it to, start a membership until you have a much bigger audience and you can welcome hundreds of members, blah, 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 blah. Not true. Not true whatsoever. In fact, in those early days, think of it like a laboratory. The goal is for you to figure out, how do I craft an experience that is going to help my people get incredible results, so that when I do add hundreds and do add thousands of people, I've got a process now that we know works, and we can take as many people through that process, help them get incredible results like clockwork. But if you're trying to figure things out with a whole mass of people, it's a lot more difficult to make changes. In the beginning, though, you're nimble and you can make those changes and make those adjustments based on that feedback that you're gathering from your people. So yes, in the beginning, doing a founding member launch and welcoming new members, small group members, it's exciting because yes, you will generate revenue from that. And that's a thrill. And I want you to be able to do that, because that creates momentum. But ultimately, the real value comes in working with those early members to be able to help them get results, to be able to craft that experience that helps them get bigger and better results, so that you have these incredible stories that will then become your greatest marketing asset from that point forward. So in the beginning, it's a huge advantage to have a smaller audience. And I encourage people to launch way before they really think they need to, because it's not so much about getting it perfect. Because with a membership site, you will never get the experience perfect. You are always going to be adjusting the experience based on what is working for your members. So the earlier you get going in this process, the faster you get that experience dialed in. And the more effective, therefore, your marketing becomes to be able to attract more people, to be able to serve more people, to be able to help your people get incredible results. And I'm telling you right now, I say this over and over and over again, that the greatest marketing asset you have are the stories of your people experiencing success. So in the beginning, people get twisted up thinking that they've got to have hundreds or thousands of members in order for their membership to be considered a success. It's not true. In the beginning, what you're really looking for is 1, 2, 3 stories. 3 stories of people that you've served that have made progress based on what you are teaching. And with that, my friend, becomes now the fuel for all of your future marketing. That's the thing that's going to help you attract more people in your audience. That's the thing that's going to help you sell more of your memberships down the road. So don't wait. Don't wait. Use those early days to your advantage to welcome more people, to gain that momentum. Now, here's the fun part about this. Are you going to gain momentum in dialing that process in? 100%. But also, you're going to learn so much yourself about how to run a successful membership by doing. You can only learn so much by studying before there comes a point in time when you actually got to put it into practice, right? And how many of us have ever experienced, and my hand is in the air because I've been in this boat before, have experienced where we keep procrastinating because I gotta learn one more thing yet. I gotta learn how to grow my audience in this way yet, or I gotta learn how to do this yet, or I gotta get this set up yet. No, I can't do it until I've got this, until I've got that. Listen, you don't have to get this right. You just have to get this going. This was a quote that I heard back in 2004 that has stuck with me all these years. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going. I thank Mike Littman, who shared that, back in 2004. I wrote it down. I've never forgotten it because it's so true, especially as it relates to membership sites. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going. And the thing that I will remind you of here is that membership is going to change. It is 100% going to change and evolve, because if you care about your members, you're going to be paying attention to their needs. And when you pay attention to their needs, it's 100% going to drive the decision-making that you are going to make as it relates to what you're providing in your membership and how you provide it. Because it's all about catering that experience to really help your people make progress. So remember your advantages. Number one, the smaller the membership, the more intimate the experience. This in and of itself is going to drive up your conversion rates. You will experience higher conversion rates than somebody with an audience of hundreds of thousands because of that intimate experience you're able to create. Number two advantage is personalization. Personalizing the experience and realizing that because when you're beginning, you have the advantages of a smaller audience. You can roll up your sleeves. You can get into contact with people one-on-one. You can find out what's going on. You can help provide resources and advice and gather feedback from them. And third is that the advantage you have is to be able to gather that feedback and to be able to follow up with people. This is about dialing in the experience. This is about thinking about those early days as a laboratory, a way for you to experiment and to try things and to co-create with your members. That co-creation process will develop a membership that is going to be so much more powerful in helping your people get results. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters, my friends. That's the only thing that matters is progress and results. Because when you are helping your people get progress and results, good golly, Miss Molly, that is your greatest marketing asset that's going to help you attract and certainly welcome more people into your membership than anything else I can share with you. So I'm going to quickly dive into some quick questions here. Oh my goodness, you guys look at you showing up. Thank you so much for jumping in on the comments. Good afternoon to all you. Tracy, thank you. Anna, good to see you. Thanks for jumping on. Haruka, high five to you, bud. Who is this? Somebody just said, I'm doing a founding member launch today. Audience is in the hundreds, but it means I know more of my audience as individuals than with a larger launch. 100%. 100%. And kudos to you. Congratulations. Keep us posted on the progress you make with your membership. Shannon, good to see you, buddy. Cece's in the house. Frida, thanks for jumping on. Let's see here. Pipper, good. Thank you for jumping on. Kelly, you're awesome. Cheryl says, what happens when you get bigger then? Okay, so great question. So Cheryl, as your audience gets bigger, then similarly, you need to begin to realize the advantages that you have with a growing audience. Listen, the key thing here, and this is really the point of the whole message, is no matter where you are on your journey, there are advantages that you have, but you've just got to become aware of them so that you can use them to your advantage. So in the beginning, with a smaller audience, the advantages that you have are the ability to create that intimacy, to create that more personalized experience, to be able to gather that feedback, to be able to really dial in that experience that you provide, right? And to gather those stories. As your audience grows, you have different sets of advantages. Like you have the advantages of momentum. You have the advantages of social proof. You have the advantages of, sustained history, so to speak, over time. And all of which becomes, compounds to create more certainty in what you're providing, and certainly to create more desire in what you're providing. So for example, like in the beginning, I didn't have, hundreds or thousands of stories that we do now. But now, my goodness, last year, we had more of our students experience success than in any other year prior, like by a long shot. It was unbelievable. We have more stories from this past year than we have time to be able to tell them. This is why, every week, by the way, I'm going live and I'm interviewing some of our incredible tribe stories because they're incredibly inspiring. If you haven't seen those yet, I highly recommend you certainly join our Facebook group. Certainly go to gettribeguide.com. It's a great resource in and of itself, but we'll also inform you of these interviews. Like a few weeks ago, I talked to Christy Hawkins, who, started with a founding member launch. She didn't have a big audience. She didn't even have an online audience. Her audience were, she had an offline business where she taught painting classes, right? And so she wanted to transition to an online membership to give her more time with her kids. So her founding member launch, I think she welcomed just over 60 members. And in that first year, she had doubled the membership. She was over 128 members. And then coming into year two, basically a year ago, she had 400 members. And then in the past year, she's grown that membership to more than 2,000 plus members. So she started with 68, right? Started with 68, then grew to 120, then to 400, now more than 2,000. It's a 7-figure a year business. I interviewed her about this whole experience. You should go back and listen to that. Then I talked to Sapphire. Sapphire is an amazing story too. She's over in the UK and she helps specifically women invest in real estate. And she didn't have a big audience. Go listen to that interview. You'll hear the momentum that she gained, earning tens of thousands of pounds in a very short period of time with a teeny tiny audience. And then last week I talked to Trupti. Trupti's over in India. And Trupti's story is amazing too, because she's grown her membership to hundreds and hundreds of members. It didn't start that way. And so we have more stories than we have time to share. But every week I'm sharing them here live on Facebook in our Facebook group. Also, I highly recommend you go and subscribe to our podcast called It's a Tribe Thing, where every single week, Shelly Varela from our community is interviewing, again, more tribers. Like, you'll hear all kinds of stories of people who have got memberships in all kinds of different markets. This is the advantage now, right? As your audience grows and as what you teach works, you have hundreds and eventually thousands of stories to share where people will see themselves in those stories. So as your audience grows, so does your momentum, so does the number of success stories that you have to share, so does the social proof of what you teach works, right? You'll hear that in our community all the time, like tribe works, because it does. But that becomes part of the momentum from having a bigger audience. So biggest thing I would say, Cheryl, is when your audience grows, you got to use the things that growth, the advantages that growth provides you. So no matter where you are in your journey, there's advantages. So you just got to identify what those are and use them. And this is the purpose of today sharing that with a smaller audience, there are 100% some distinct advantages. Like, I've never seen conversion rates as high as I have with people with smaller audiences. I think of another example was Susan Garrett. Susan Garrett is in the dog, training market, and specifically, she helps people who are in the dog agility niche. So it's a very, very tight niche. Now, she did have a bigger audience, but when she launched her membership, like Tasha Cochran, she launched it to a smaller subset, 1,100 people. Okay. Now, the crazy part, when she launched her membership to this small group of 1,100 people, she ended up welcoming 61% of all those people into her membership, into her paying membership. Like, these are crazy conversion rates. That happens because the audience is smaller, it's more intimate, you can create a more personalized experience, and you can begin to gather that feedback. So no matter where you are in your journey, use your advantages when you are looking to grow your audience. Thank you for that, Mike. Good to see you. Cheryl said, will those founding members feel left out as you grow a bigger membership? That's my fear. Cheryl, girl, don't be tripping over things that aren't an issue or a problem. No, the way in which you can honor those founding members is to keep them front of mind. Like, I think of Tamara Bennett. So recently in our tribe mastermind, she shared a really cool idea, which I thought was just amazing. She's created like a physical yearbook for her membership. And one of the ways in which she honors those founding members was she created a whole section where she highlighted who they were, who those founding members were. And it was called like the original OGs, you know, and I love that. So it's not about like, you know, don't operate from a place of fear, operate from a place of opportunity, and honor those people. It's not saying to forget those people as you grow, not at all. It's about honoring those people and certainly keeping them front and center. So I think, you know, Tamara is a great example of that with her yearbook. Yeah, Kelly just said, I really think that's the key to building a solid foundation. I've absolutely loved working closely with my members this year. Yeah, 100% agree, Kelly. That's the advantage. Like when you have a smaller group, you can, you know, create that more intimate experience. And that's the thing. Like when you're working closer with people, you have a much better understanding and grasp on what's really going on in terms of them being able to learn what you're teaching and sharing and be able to implement it and get results, all of which helps influence, by the way, the direction that you take the membership and the tweaks and changes and so forth. So yes, Tiffany Beckel said, what are the best ways to lead people into my membership? Oh my goodness, Tiffany, there are so many ways to be able to do this. I highly recommend, let me just see if I can find it. 1 second. There's a, uno momento. There's a podcast episode I want you to go listen to that I did about a year ago, which is all about like, how do you do a founding member launch? I believe it's episode number 171, but hang on 1 second. I'll find out for you for sure. Okay, yes, it is episode number 171 of the Marketing Your Business podcast. So if you haven't done so yet, go to Apple or iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Go subscribe to the Marketing Your Business podcast. And then specifically, Tiffany, I want you to listen to episode number 171. But essentially, like the best way to lead people, especially initially, to your membership is to do a founding member launch. And this is about casting the vision of, you know, what your founding member launch may look like. It's about inviting people to join you as a founding member. And then it's about, you know, certainly like welcoming them into your membership as a founding member. I break it all down in that episode. But bottom line is like, when it comes to, you know, leading people into your membership, it's about casting a vision for them, holding space for a vision for them in terms of what's possible and what can happen and what that journey will look like. You know, it's not don't think of it like a library where people just come and go and, you know, pick and choose like materials that, you know, when they want it and how they want it, and then they're gone. No. Like a true membership, it's about taking people on a journey, right? Particularly, now let me back this up. There are different types of memberships, but I'm specifically talking about a membership that helps people solve an ongoing problem, or that teaches people how to master a skill, right? It's about holding space for the journey that they're on and being able to guide them through that journey. And when you do so and you cast that vision, people start to see opportunity in what you're sharing and providing, and more possibility than they may even hold for themselves. Like one of the things that just absolutely lights me up is watching our tribe community grow beyond anything that they've ever imagined. And we've seen this like almost on a daily basis, where people are sharing, you know, the progress that they're making and looking back on like where they were like 6 months ago, you know, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, and looking at the progress that they've made in such a short period of time. Like that is the thing that I think you and I, as membership site owners, that's the greatest gift we can provide people, is to be able to hold a vision for them that's bigger than the vision they even have for themselves. A dear friend of mine, a mentor of mine, Reed Tracy, he held that vision for me. And sometimes we need somebody to believe in us more than we believe in ourselves, to help us realize our true potential. You know, and years ago, when I was in a bit of a state of flux in my business, so to speak. I had just sold my software company and I wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to go. And I was consulting and trying to help all business owners with all things marketing. And it was a heavy uphill battle, right? Like I was competing against so many more people and it was really hard to stand out. And my friend and mentor, Reed Tracy, pulled me aside and he said, Stu, like, I really think you should just focus on helping people with memberships. He's like, this is what you've been doing for years and years and years. Like, this is your bread and butter. And I needed him to see the potential in me so that I could start, believing in me and what might be possible. And I don't know that, truthfully, I don't know that we'd be here today. I don't know that the tens of thousands of people who have come through Tribe would have had that experience had it not been for Reed holding that space for me, believing in me more than I believed in myself. So I just believe that, like, in a membership, this is such a vital role that you and I play. And the way in which we do that is we hold that vision, we cast that vision, and we talk about the progress being a journey, not a transaction, but being a journey that we're on together. And so the best way to lead people into that membership is to continuously talk about what's possible by sharing the stories and to help people see what's possible for them. Because once they have that belief themselves, oh my goodness, now you can help them, in terms of implementation and getting there, right? Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Frida. Frida said, I find my founding members are enjoying the growth and have become a very crucial part of the community. 100%. Your founding members will become like your evangelists because they've experienced that intimate, personalized environment that you've created, and they know you. They know you. They know who you are. They know, your values. They know how you show up. They know your heart, right? And they become your best advocates and cheerleaders, so to speak, inside the membership. Elaine said here, I recently did a graduation call for my challenge and only a few people joined. So I worked in the content with each of them and it was super powerful for me and them. Yes, this is the power of having that smaller audience. I love hearing that, Elaine. Thank you for sharing, buddy. Because I think, like, we often disregard the opportunity that comes with, working with a smaller group of people. And I'm telling you, you'll have more breakthrough insights with a smaller group than you ever will with a bigger group, because it's hard to mobilize a big group. It's hard to gather that, intimate feedback with a bigger group, but with a smaller group, you can get that much more personalized experience. Tiffany said, I have not launched yet because I didn't have everything all planned out. So here's the thing, Tiffany, this can be an advantage. Like, I highly recommend you go and listen to that episode of the Marketing Your Business podcast, number 171. But in that, we talk about the fact that when you are doing a founding member launch, like, one of the best things that you can do and should do is talk about the fact that you don't have everything set up. Like, a great example of this is Nicholas Wilton. So Nicholas came to me years ago. He has a 12-week program that he teaches. Now, Nicholas is teaching people how to do fine art, like painting, okay? So he's an artist teaching other people how to become a fine art artist. Is that how you say it? Or painter? Fine art painter. I think that's a better way. So anyway, it's a pretty lengthy course. Like, I think it's a 12-week program. Well, at week 10, he reached out to me and he said, Stu, like, I got a bit of an issue and I don't know what to do. And I said, okay, well, what's the problem? He said, well, we're at week 10 and people are asking me, like, what's next? Like, they genuinely want to continue this experience, but I don't have anything to offer them. I said, well, dude, it's like perfectly suited for a membership. He's like, I know. And that's why I'm coming to you, but I don't have time. I don't have time to create everything. Like, I'm still, fulfilling on the delivery of the course and the program. Like, I don't have time to create a membership. I said, dude, it is perfectly suited for a founding member launch. And essentially, the way I encouraged him to position it was this. he invited everybody on to in this case, like a live training. And then during that, he spoke to the fact that there were a variety of people who were asking him, like, what's next? And he showed screenshots like of, people's questions and conversations about like, well, what happens when the course is done? And then he went on to explain. He said, when we began this, I wasn't thinking about like what's next, but the more that these questions surface, the more it got my creative juices flowing to think about how could we extend this experience, not just for 12 weeks, but all year long. And it got me thinking about an idea for a community, a membership where we would come together on a regular basis and we would continue to help each other grow in our art. And he began to cast that vision. Okay. But then he said, now straight up, none of this is created right now. This is just an idea. But if enough founding members, if you decide to join as a founding member and we have enough people who are interested, then we will create it. And it'll probably be about a month and a half, maybe even 2 months before it's created. But we'll stay in contact, in between there. But I'm going to involve you in every part of the process. And I want your feedback. I want you to be involved. I want you to help shape this idea to become the community that we want. So, time out. The key thing in that is that he's framing up that experience by being transparent and honest and saying like, this isn't created yet, but we're going to create it together. And I'm going to keep you informed of the process all along the way. And so, Tiffany, you don't need everything created. You don't need all the ducks in a row, because the reality of it is that it's going to change a lot based on that interaction with your members. Like even back in the day when I was business partners with a dear friend, Michael Hyatt, we launched his membership together. And, in the first week, we welcomed 1,100 members, which was amazing. But after the first month, we realized like there were a bunch of things that we needed to change. Like we needed to change like the whole like community component. And so that was a change. We ended up changing like a whole big, content delivery piece, because we saw that, people weren't using that, but there was something else that they, had a preference in. So we changed that. And so slowly but surely, like things change based on, the members' feedback. And this is what I really want to emphasize. Like in the beginning, things are going to change based on what you're learning from your members. So we can try as hard as possible to try to perfectly plan, our memberships so that it's like, dialed in and pinpoint perfect. And we're going to do all the things that we can to certainly get it as close. But the reality of it is, the membership's going to change a lot. It's going to change based on your members' feedback. So the earlier you get started, the faster you're able to dial in that experience. So I just want to encourage you, Tiffany, you don't have to get everything perfect, my friend. You don't have to get everything all planned out. Like think of the creation process with your members as you guys co-creating an experience that will serve them and certainly, many more people to join thereafter. Okay, so April said, as a life coach, I'd love to start a membership this year, but I don't have hundreds. I don't even have 10. I've only been coaching for 2 years, and due to my health, I haven't been able to be as focused as I've wanted to. I'd say in my particular situation, this might be a good idea for me overall. For those times that I am unable to coach one-on-one, they at least have the group. Yes, well, 100% April. I would say like the membership certainly alleviates that pressure of that one-on-one experience. And if you're in the very early stages of growing your audience, like as you said, you don't even have 10 people yet. That's okay. That's okay. So now you know where you got to put your focus, right? And I could tell you that there are many ways to grow your audience. My biggest piece of advice is to pick one platform, and focus on growing your audience there first. That might be, Twitter. That might be Instagram. That might be Facebook. That might be Clubhouse. Clubhouse has been just an amazing tool to be able to grow an audience by showing up and delivering value. I've seen more growth on Clubhouse in the last few weeks than I have in years and other platforms and channels. But bottom line is that like, it doesn't take very long whatsoever to grow an audience of a few hundred people. And again, we're not looking to grow an audience of tens of thousands or thousands in order to be able to get started with a membership. You just need a few hundred people. So if you're starting at scratch, like zero, then put your focus there, right? Like that's all you need to put your focus there, a few hundred people. That literally can happen in days, if not weeks, but you'll have enough in a very short period of time to be able to begin thinking about a membership for sure. But bottom line is you're 100% right, April. A membership is going to provide a heck of a lot more leverage. Whereas when you're coaching, it's awesome because you got that one-on-one interaction. But as you scale and grow, it's very difficult to be able to grow beyond a certain point because you just have limited capacity. So if you want to help more people, a membership is certainly going to be a vehicle to be able to help you do that. Yeah, so Kelly just kind of reaffirmed that. Thanks, Kelly. Kelly said, you don't need to. I literally had nothing, just an idea. I was honest, told my audience my plan, and they signed up and helped me craft the experience. So I love that. Thank you for sharing, Kelly. Frida said the same that Frida said here. I launched without knowing what on earth I'm doing, and I'm so glad I did. Just do it. And I think that's the point, right? Like our audience helps us figure things out when you get going. Karen, I love hearing that. Karen said, so the 1st of March, the cake circle opens. I've got 31 on the wait list now. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, Karen. Keep us posted, buddy. Corey, where did I think I just lost you, Corey, but I think I saw you. Where is it? Oh my goodness. Corey, I lost your comment, but I think I quickly saw that you said, that you have been shying away from this and that this conversation is helping. I hope so. I hope so. Because too many people underestimate the progress that can be made in such a short period of time. Like I'm here to tell you, every single day, I'm working with tens of thousands of business owners in all kinds of different markets. Launch, grow, and scale highly profitable memberships. And I can tell you that one of the common themes are people underestimating what is possible for themselves in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And inevitably, so many people put off ideas that are in their head, waiting for that perfect time, for that perfect moment. Listen, if you've had kids, you know there's no perfect time to have kids, right? Like you're never ready for having kids for the first time. You can hear all the stories of the late nights and sleep and deprivation and all that kind of. You can hear all those stories, but you're never truly ready for having kids. But you learn in the process of doing that. The same is true with a membership. You're never going to be truly ready and have the perfect moment. But what I love and subscribe to is freeing yourself of the pressure of it having to be perfect and really stepping into the opportunity that's available for you and I right now, even with teeny tiny audiences. I should say, especially with teeny tiny audiences, for all the reasons that we've outlined today. Like number one, a smaller audience means you can create a more intimate experience, both in selling and in delivering that membership experience. And what that's going to result in is way higher conversion rates than you would ever have with a bigger audience. Second reason is it allows you to create a more personalized experience. So you're in the trenches, your sleeves are rolled up, you're learning, you're working with those members who join, and you're able to do more personalized things. You're able to do personalized videos. You're able to reach out. You're able to have conversation. You're able to learn so much faster in how you can best serve your people with a smaller audience. And third is that you're able to gather feedback at a much more rapid rate. And the result of that feedback means you dial in that membership experience where you're helping people get results. And those results and the stories of those results, they become your greatest marketing asset. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm telling you, gang, I'm telling you, why put all of that momentum off? And we haven't even touched on, P.S., we haven't even touched on the revenue that comes from that. Like Courtney Lynn, you know, when I mentioned her earlier, who started her pet influencer membership, she didn't have a big audience. She didn't have anybody on her email list. Zero, nada. But she had 900 people who were following her on Instagram. Okay, so she did her founding member launch. She welcomed 52 members. 52 incredible conversions, right? That generated $1,800 right up front and $700 a month right out of the gate. Like that cash flow helped fuel the creation of the membership, helped fuel the momentum of the business. She's now grown her membership to hundreds of members and thousands of dollars in recurring revenue. But I'm sharing this with you because it doesn't always start there, but that momentum, it's important because that momentum fuels your confidence. And your confidence impacts the way in which you attract people. It impacts the way in which people sign up for your membership. You gain confidence from the stories that you're sharing because your stuff works, right? Like if I look back to 2016, when we just began our tribe experience versus today, I am so much more confident in what we teach and provide today than I was back then because we have so much proof, like thousands and thousands of stories. And each time that I share a story, I remind myself that this works. And if somebody is thinking about starting a membership site, or they already have a membership site and they want to get it to the next level, like there is no better place for them to be than joining us in our tribe experience. Like I am 110% confident in that. Why? Because for years we have seen it firsthand. And this is what I'm saying to you. Like you can't help but be confident in what you've got when you have helped so many people get results. And so the earlier you get started with this, the more that snowball builds. And it starts small and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, you've got more momentum on your side, growing at a rate that is unimaginable right now. Like if I were to talk to Christy Hawkins, and by the way, I'd encourage you to go and watch and listen to my recent interview with her, where we talked about like what's happened in the last 2.5 years. 2.5 years ago, she would never have imagined of having a 7-figure membership site. She didn't even have an online audience at that point. But this is what I'm saying is like, you just don't know how quickly the momentum can happen for you. And it's like that snowball. And so my big message for you today is that when you're thinking about, when is the right time? I'm always going to be encouraging you to do it sooner rather than later, because you don't need an audience of tens of thousands or thousands. Just a few hundred is all you need to really get started to be able to create momentum for you, for your audience, and for your business. So my friends, I want to encourage you, if you haven't done so yet, go and download our free guide. This is where I answer the top questions that I get asked about memberships. You can find it at gettribeguide.com. And in there, I answer the top 10 questions that I get asked all the time. I'm just going to find the link here. Where did it go? Sugar plums. Oh, there it is. Okay. In this, I answer the top questions that I get asked about starting a membership site. And we provide not only my answers, but we provide tons of examples. So you'll see examples of people who have memberships in the art space, in the music space, in the health space. You'll see examples in all kinds of different markets. So definitely go and download gettribeguide.com. And when you do, we will also inform you of live broadcasts that I do where I'm bringing on people who have launched their memberships, and we're talking about like what happened. How did they do and grow their membership business? Some starting from scratch. Others already had an existing membership and took it to a whole another level. Some are in weird and peculiar markets that you would scratch your head and say, really? Like, you're able to grow a sustainable business in that market? And the answer is yes. And you'll hear about all of them and so much more. So if you haven't done so yet, go and download the guide, gettribeguide.com. You'll be able to, it's a free download. You'll get it right away. You'll see my responses to the top questions I get asked about memberships. You'll see all the examples. Plus, you'll be informed of our upcoming interviews where I'm talking to real people like you and I who have launched memberships in all kinds of different markets. And we're talking to them about like, how have they done it? And what advice would they give you in doing it for yourself? And the reason that I'm doing this is because I want to inspire you. I want to open your mind to what is possible for you. Because I believe that every single business should have some kind of recurring revenue in their business. And I believe that now more today than ever before. Because in the past year, I have seen firsthand how memberships have shown up for business owners who otherwise would have been completely shut down. We're talking physical brick and mortar stores, retail stores. We're talking service providers who would have been completely shut down had they not had a digital membership. So I've seen the stability and the predictability that a membership provides even during crazy hard times. So I believe in this more now than ever before. And that's why I want to encourage you to go to gettribeguide.com and get thinking about and started with your membership site. All right, my friends, you're awesome. Make it a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.